Hi, how are you? What's your name?
Hi, nice to meet you, Ashruf Kamel.
Okay, nice to meet you. So, I started this platform called Mind Over Meta where I want to explore like the real stories behind different entrepreneurs and like not just highlight their successes, but also the lessons that are behind them and just all the moments that go into making such a big business. And as a student, I've always been so curious about how ideas turn into something bigger. And I'm so excited to learn from people who've actually done it firsthand and experienced it. So thank you so much for agreeing to have this meeting.
My pleasure.
So I'm just going to ask you a series of questions and just answer them the most authentic you can.
No problem.
So firstly, what was the very first idea or project you tried, even if it completely failed?
That's a very broad topic. Look, one certainly springs to mind, which is back in 2007. We had been working in the Middle East for about 11 years, had a lot of specialized resources, manpower. We'd executed a number of projects in the construction field, and there was this very interesting topic of sort of, water supply and fluid management. And as a company, I think, we had a lot of resources and experience, but we didn't have a skill set. So it was mid 2007 that the board decided that we would invest into something that we'd never had. We had very little experience in working with this type of technology. And it turned into one of the biggest parts of the group's revenue now. So looking back on that decision, that ambitious decision to invest a huge amount of capital and really add a lot of resources to a company, increase infrastructure, additional factory, additional plant machinery, it's really proven to be a great decision, but it hasn't always been that easy. There's been some challenges, as I'm sure every business has, but that definitely springs to mind as being a very smart, ambitious decision.
Wow, okay. And so tell us about your current business. So how did you finally arrive at what you're doing today currently? Explain to us what your current business is.
Yeah, our business is a bit unique. We have two very distinctive businesses. So on one side, we're a very experienced marine infrastructure contractor. So we have a product that has been installed all across the Middle East region. It's a floating structure that we manufacture under license in Abu Dhabi in the UAE. And we offer a complete turnkey solution. So everything that is required in terms of floating infrastructure for boats, generally, or yachts,
okay.
We provide that service as a contractor, as a designer, and as an engineer. So we've actually just recently been awarded the new Wynn Casino in Ras Al Khaimah.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty exciting for us. We're under a little bit of pressure, but in a year from now, we should be well and truly finished, and we're really excited about that. And before that, we've finished Dubai Harbour, which is a huge marina, 526 berths, and the list goes on. Marassi Bay, Formula One track in Abu Dhabi, Jumeirah Beach Hotel. So, all these iconic marinas.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of our business, which is somewhat connected, is our desalination business. So we handle water treatment and deliver to clients a specific type of water using seawater. So a lot of our clients, so we can convert almost every type of water into an industrial water or a processed water that they can use for manufacturing. They can use for human consumption if they need to, and we have a very niche business model for that, where we offer a leasing service. So we don't require the clients to invest into a lot of capital up front. We can just provide them the equipment, provide them the manpower, and then they can just rent from us, all these containers. It's very mobile. So we can move anywhere in the world with the equipment. There's shipping containers, and that's very unique to us. It's been a platform that we've developed back in 2008. And I don't know, I think we could be the market leader when it comes to mobile water treatment. So we have a huge fleet in Abu Dhabi.
Very unique. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of water treatment companies in this region, as I'm sure you're aware, with desalination being the source of water. Not like where I'm from in Australia, we have natural rainwater. But when it comes to mobile water treatment, we have probably one of the largest fleets here.
Wow, that's so interesting. So my next question is, people often see like the highlights in businesses. So what's one specific failure or mistake that you made that shaped you into the business owner you are today?
I think managing people is definitely something that can be challenging at the best of times and at the worst of times. And I think, respectfully, making hard decisions are sometimes better served at a very early stage rather than forgiving and not necessarily being delusional, but certainly overlooking things that are very obvious. And I think historically, because of, I guess, a range of reasons, whether it's we're under a lot of pressure to deliver something for a client, we're all working, extensive hours, and everyone's just trying to head in the same direction. I think you can overlook things, and they become very, very challenging when the stress levels are high and you really need to deliver. You've got to rely on your people, and if those people aren't consistent with where you're headed and the commitment that you need from them, that can be a failure. It has been, to be honest with you. We've had some really difficult times when it comes to those types of situations. I mean, there are more examples, but that's something that definitely resonates.
Okay.
And identifying the right people from a very early stage.
Okay. And so what's one personal habit or mindset shift that makes the biggest difference in what you have accomplished?
I still always have to believe that we need to remind ourselves on who we're working for. And at the end of the day, we enter into contracts for clients to deliver them a solution, whether it be through construction activities, manufacturing, engineering, whatever that deliverable is. We should always be reminding ourselves that we're working for a client and our commitment is to that client. It's not to serve our own interests, our own likes and dislikes, our own selfishness. We have an obligation to the client, and that's what it all comes down to. And I think sometimes you can lose sight of that, and it's good to remind yourself of what you're actually doing. It's not to just make money, which is obviously an objective for any business, but it is to deliver what you promised your client you would deliver.
Like taking no shortcuts.
Exactly.
So now we're gonna move a bit into like advice for students. So if a teenager had a big idea, what's the very first step you recommend they should take in achieving like a business that they're passionate about?
Okay, so I think you used the right word there. So I think passion needs to be 100%, because
I've heard that a lot across my interview.
Yeah, because if you're not passionate about something, your primary objective is generally going to be about making money, and that can come and go, and you can lose interest in something because it becomes too hard, and because you're not seeing the numbers that you're expecting, and you're not getting the profit levels up to where you want them to be, or your growth factor. If you're not passionate about it, then it might not be something worth pursuing, because that's the thing that holds it all together for the longest period of time. After that, I definitely think doing and not rushing into things is another thing. I see a lot of people, they wake up in the morning, they've got a great idea and they just run with it, and they find out all of these challenges on the way. You need to spend time doing your due diligence and planning, and always reminding yourself of what your initial strategy was, and not really, because that's another thing, right? So a lot of people tend to find that when they hit these T junctions, they deviate from their original plan. And if you hear from them a couple of years later, you're like, but you told me that you were going to do this and now you're doing that. How did that happen? They're like, oh, this was just the best way forward. This is the way we could get there the quickest. I'm like, that's not the right way to do this. You know, like you need, okay, plans can change, but your overall strategic objective doesn't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So this might be a bit tricky to answer, but if you could rewind to high school, like in your high school days, what advice would you give yourself then, knowing what you know now about like the business industry? Like maybe not high school days, but when you first started your business, or high school, whatever.
I mean, for me, high school, definitely, it's very difficult to explain this to a younger generation, but I don't regret the amount of time I spent studying and focusing on my studies. I mean, I went into university straight after high school, but I think don't worry about what you're missing out on today, because there's a lot of time for all of that and all that fun stuff, those little things that everyone thinks they're missing out on a Friday night or a Saturday night. And you're reading and studying and preparing for mock exams and everything else. Put the energy in now, because there's a lot of time to go and have fun later. And actually, the fun that you think you're having in high school is nothing compared to what type of fun you have when you're an adult or a young adult. So definitely from a high school perspective, that's one bit of advice. In terms of early career, pay attention to the people that have been in the organization for a long period of time and understand from them, you know, what drives them, because they're becoming very unique skills that you can pick up on at a young age. So taking it all in, not trying to think that you've got an answer, because I mean, I definitely think if I look back when I was 24, I think I thought I knew everything and I didn't.
Yeah, always more to learn.
Absolutely.
Your first point actually relates back to me. Like I find myself studying a lot, like even on the weekends, but like in the long run, it's worth it to like do well in school now, and then later you can enjoy yourself.
It's such a short period of your life. It might seem like it's a lifetime, but it's like 5 or 6 years, including university, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's done, and then you've got, you know, however many years
to
beyond
put the
that.
work in now and enjoy it later than regret not studying as much as you could have.
Yeah, and look, there's a balance, right? No one's saying you should sit at home every single night and isolate yourself, but there's limits as well, you know. And I think definitely some people, I recall going through the last year of our high school, I think if I asked them today, I'm sure they regret like what they thought they were doing on the weekend, where, you know, I don't have those regrets, but I know it's a problem. I know it can become a problem because a lot of people, you know, think like that.
Yeah, of course. So if you had to sum up entrepreneurship in 3 words without saying hard work, dedication, or persistence, what would they be?
Passion.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say determination?
No.
As one of the words? No. Determined or determination?
It's tricky.
There's a lot of words. You said commitment, right?
No.
No. Maybe commitment. Maybe.
Yeah, those make sense. You need to be committed to what you're doing, even if it doesn't work out always.
Yeah, maybe those. I'll probably change them if I keep thinking about it, to be honest with you.
And why did you pick those words?
Well, I think a lot of those, there's obviously a lot of words, but those words definitely come to my mind because I think that's what goes into almost everyday work. And you do tend to drift off from like weeks turn into months, turn into years, and you kind of forget it all. But those things are they're like the pillars, right? That you need to have. You need to have those.
Yeah.
It's not everything. There's a lot more. There's probably 50 words that make up what you asked me, but those are definitely those would have to be in there.
Okay, one of my last questions is how do you dream big how do you balance dreaming big with being realistic, like with being feasible?
Well, look, that's difficult because dreaming big is something that is, it sort of starts off with the big dream, right? The initial set, your goal, your dream, your idea, it's always going to be much bigger than what the reality is. So, you know, when you're at that stage, I don't think it's something that you should try and overanalyze and try and reduce it down to the reality, because you'll eventually figure out what it's going to take to get to that sort of big dream and that end goal.
Yeah.
And if you do it the other way around, the big dream may not become that big, because you'll talk yourself out of it, and you'll find that there's all these challenges and complications and steps and, you know, whatever else. So, you know, I think it's always better to dream big and then figure out what it's going to take to get there, because then it will stay big.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, my last question for you is, who is someone outside of the business world who inspires you to lead the way you do?
Definitely my father.
And why is that?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the characteristics, a lot of my personality and my commitment, my loyalty, my mannerisms have all come from both my parents. But certainly my dad, you know, in our house was certainly an entrepreneur by definition. You know, he ran his own business for however many decades. So I mean, that was quite inspirational. More so at a late teenage age, because I think before that I wasn't really aware of what he was doing.
Yeah.
Quite young, but then you start picking up on things. You start listening.
Later on, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely tune into that frequency if you're interested in it, and those things become part of, you know, how you conduct yourself.
Yeah, okay, that's a good answer. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and all your insights with me today. I really loved hearing about everything, and your perspective will definitely inspire a lot of other students who are just starting to explore their own passions and ideas. So thank you so much for your time today.
My absolute pleasure. It's nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks. Goodbye.